Welcome to Exploring Possibilities. This is a show where we interview a variety of holistic professionals, lightworkers, and practitioners who are really making a bigger difference in the world. I'm your host, Cheryl Sitz, and it was my intention in creating this show to be able to introduce you to the amazing people that I'm meeting on my own journey. I want you to hear their stories because their stories are an awful lot like our stories. And together we can explore the vast realm of holistic healing and learn how we can co-create holistic sustainability. We need it for ourselves. We need it for our planet. There's a lot of possibilities out there, and we don't often hear about them. This way we can learn and grow together. And I don't want you to hesitate to reach out and connect with anybody you hear who might resonate with you. Special thanks to Mario Rosales of Tech Life Balance for his work in producing and publishing these podcasts and on our Journey of Possibilities website. He's really using technology to make a bigger difference and help us build a community. So thank you, Mario. I appreciate it. Be sure and subscribe to these podcasts by searching for Exploring Possibilities and then subscribing on iTunes, where you can also rate us and help us get more listeners and attract more people into this path. Or if you have an Android platform, be sure and download the Stitcher app and you can subscribe there and you'll never miss an episode. Would you like to be a sponsor of Exploring Possibilities? Your message could be attached to this podcast and heard everywhere it's downloaded and played, or played in the car, played at work. You could be all over the place. Just think about the possibilities. Joining me today on Exploring Possibilities is Mari Hall. Mari is such a beautiful woman. She is a professor and doctor of education in social services. She holds an honorary doctorate in theology. As if that wasn't enough, she's the co-founder and facilitator of the annual 21-day virtual Usui Sensei retreat. She's one of the first masters of Reiki to bring it to the UK or to teach it in Norway and Czechoslovakia. She's taught Reiki to over 50,000 people around the world. She's highly respected in the community. Also the founding director of the International Association of Reiki. And on top of all of that, she's just one of the most beautiful women I've ever had the pleasure of connecting with. Welcome, Mari.
My goodness, you got all that out and you didn't even breathe. Well, I'm delighted to be with you. I really am.
It's such an honor. And just in the little bit that I've had the privilege of visiting with you, you've had some fascinating stories. So I know that you're going to share some beautiful things with us today. I like to start these interviews by giving our listeners a glimpse at the person and how you came to be on this amazing journey of being such a leader in Reiki around the world. Have you always been this awake and attuned to the energy?
Oh, heavenly days, no. I was solidly asleep.
Oh. What happened?
I was an accountant. I had my accountant, my little briefcase and my business suit, and I went to work every day like everybody else. But I was told I was going to be paralyzed by the time I was 40, and I didn't like that at all. I was very closed individual. I didn't trust anyone, didn't trust myself especially. And but I didn't like what the doctors were saying, and I just wanted to find a way to make them wrong, of course, because obviously they were wrong.
Obviously.
And so I started looking in all kinds of places for an answer, in all kinds of places I never would be in before, and I went to a metaphysical bookstore that I would never go in a metaphysical bookstore, ever. That just wasn't my deal, to be in a metaphysical bookstore. And I was had walked in, and I was looking in where some books are, and this woman that I had seen, I knew her not real well socially, but a friend of a friend, basically, and she came up to me and said, "Mari," and she grabbed a hold of me and hugged me, and it shocked me because nobody hugs me. Back then, nobody hugged me at all. And I could hardly, it was just a big shock. So she put her hand where my back problem was, where my paralyzation was starting. I was already dragging my left leg. And she talked to me for a few minutes and said, "Well, I've got to go," and she left, and I was still feeling her hands on my back. So I left the bookstore, not finding what I was looking for. Don't know how I thought I was going to find it, but it wasn't probably in a book. It was in her.
Mm-hmm.
And I called my friend and asked for her phone number. told her that I could feel her hands on me. I wanted to know what she really did instead of hugging me. And I called her, and I said, what did you do to me? And she said, I just hugged you. And I said, well, I can feel your hands on me. And I wondered what that was that you did. And she said, well, I did a Reiki course. And I said, well, what's that? And she said, I can't explain it. I did the course, and I'm having the most horrible time trying to tell people what I did. It's like energy, and you channel it. And I went, oh, now wait a minute. I channeling energy? I don't know about this at all. And she said, well, now hold on. It works. I mean, I've done it to myself, and I've done it to my children so far, and they like it. But why don't you call her? Her name is Iris Ishikuro, and she's going to be here next weekend doing a course again. And she can probably explain it much better than me because she's done it a long time. So I said, okay, well, give me your number. So I called her, and I asked her to explain it. And she said, it's much easier if you just take the course. and the experience is the explainer, she said. And I went, oh, yeah, right, okay. She's just selling courses. That was my mindset then, being untrusting. So I went by to see her, and I thought, well, maybe she'll sit down with me and tell me about it. Well, she didn't. She just ended up selling me the course. not only that for Reiki 1, but also for Reiki 2. I walked out of there, and I thought, what has just happened to me? I don't believe it. I don't believe in it. And not only that, I've just paid for Reiki 1 and Reiki 2. and I'm supposed to show up this weekend, and I don't even believe what I'm done. I've spent my money already. And so I showed up, sure enough. And I was sitting next to this guy, and I asked him, do you believe in this stuff that we're going to do? And he went, nope, I sure don't. And I said, we could leave. He went, I can't go. And I said, yeah, you can go. We can go together. It'll make a better impact. Nobody wants to leave on their own. You know that, don't you?
Right.
It's much better to leave in a group. It makes a better statement. And he said, I can't go. I have to bring the papers home for my wife. She sent me here, and I have to get those papers, or I'm just in trouble. And I went, oh, okay. So I figured, well, I have to stay now, and it's probably true she wouldn't give us the money. So, and what Ira said, I was the toughest nut she ever had to crack. And all through the whole day, whatever happened, which I would never disclose because we were told never to talk about what happened in the class or disclose any of the symbols or anything like that. Right. And I've always honored that. Right. I just, people were saying, oh, I went to the beach in my meditation, and I went there and I did this. I had nothing at all, nothing. I had black, that was it. And when we worked on each other, I didn't feel a thing, nothing. But they'd say, oh, Marty, your hands are so hot. And I thought, oh, just like everybody else, they're just lying to make me feel better. So I left that first day completely disillusioned by the whole experience. I didn't feel anything. I didn't believe them. I was disillusioned, and I go home, and my mother has come to visit me. She had a key to my house. And she said, where have you been all day? I've been trying to get a hold of you. I said, well, I've just been doing a course. And she said, what? Speak up. And I was like, I'm trying to be, I don't, because she'll tell me I'm just been stupid, knowing my mother.
Yeah.
And I said Reiki, like slurring it, so she couldn't hear me. And she said, I didn't understand you. Would you please speak clearly? What have you been doing? And I said, I did a Reiki course, so there. And she said, what fool thing have you wasted your money on now? And I said, it's not foolish. It's about channeling energy, Mother. And she said, oh, my God, Mari. And then I just did this whole begging. I begged her, let me touch you. I'll show you what I mean. Here I am not even believing what I've just done. And now I'm trying to talk her into believing something I don't believe in. So I asked her, let me put my hands on your knees. No, you cannot touch me. Don't be ridiculous. Well, finally she gave in. I put my hands on her knees. And, of course, what do I say? What are you feeling? Well, that's the worst question you can ask anybody, So she says, I don't feel a thing. Don't be silly, So I took my hands away, and then she left, and I beat myself up the whole evening about wasting money, wasting time. I should have never done it. I could hardly sleep the whole night long because I've got to go back the next day, or because I've spent my money. But then she called me in the morning and she said, listen, on your way home, stop by the house and do some more Reiki on me because I slept so good and I didn't have any pain in my knees the whole night. And I'm like totally gobsmacked because she felt it and I didn't feel it, So that was my first client, my mother. And so I had no intention of ever going further with it. I wanted to see if it would work for me. I certainly didn't want to teach Reiki. That was not in the cards for me as far as I was concerned. And about 4 days later, I went into the bank. And, did your teacher tell you that, your things will subtly change for you and people may notice a change, but you don't notice it? Did your teacher tell you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, see, I didn't believe what Ira said. That was just silly. That was nonsense as far as I was concerned. And I hate to admit this, so the world is listening, I know. But when I used to look at a child, they'd cry. I would just die inside when that happened. It was like I had a sign on the outside of me that said, "Go away, dumb fool," or "Keep out," or something. Oh. That was my energy. Keep away, because I just was so hurt inside. I projected all that outside. I'd been raped and molested and beaten all my life, so that was just a keep out sign. And children pick up on that, so they just would cry. So here I go into the bank for the office. I'm standing in line, and what am I standing behind? A mother with her child, and I'm going, oh great. So I don't want to look at the child, of course, because I'll make her cry. So I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm counting all the holes in the ceiling tiles, Then I look down, I'm counting the stars and the carpet squares. I'm doing everything I can to avoid this child because I don't want her to cry. Mm-hmm. And then the mother taps me on the shoulder and she says, "You are the rudest woman I have ever known in my whole life. My daughter has been trying to get your attention all this time, and you're just ignoring her." And then I had to look at her, and when I did, she jumped into my arms and cuddled me, and I just broke into tears because that child saw something in me that I hadn't seen in me.
Wow.
She recognized something. She recognized the light, Mm-hmm. And of course, we don't have those words when you when you get out of a course.
Right.
You don't go up to somebody and say, "Oh, the quality of light and love in you is so much more profound." And you don't know what to say. Usually you go, "Oh, did you get your hair cut?" or "Is that a new blouse?" or something. They can't language what they're seeing
right
in you, so that was my big aha moment,
For me, it's been, they talk about my complexion. Lately, everybody is telling me how amazing my complexion is. And yes, it's changed some because I'm sure the light's shining through, but it's not in a jar or a bottle. I mean, I can tell you what I use, but what I have is light. And that's what they're seeing, but they don't know what they're seeing. You're so right.
No, it's a translucence of your skin, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a light. It's like light pouring through you. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's why people say, "Well, can you tell when people have taken Reiki?" I said, "You don't have a sign hanging on you. It's the love. It's the love that fills you."
Yeah.
Well, what's the difference between me that's just taken Reiki and you that's done Reiki a long time? It's that we trust it and that we've done our work, and the vehicle of love is there inside of us. It permeates us. So that when we walk in the room, it's something that they can feel.
Yeah.
That's what Yeshui said. People will see that it's not like going to knock them over, but they feel your presence in the room because it's love that's walking into the room.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what they experience. Wow, there's something different about this person. I want to know more about it. It's just you, but it's the love it's the love that's present in you. Source energy. It's source in you.
Right.
So our job is just to keep ourselves clear.
Yes, absolutely.
To use the energy. The more you use it, the more it's present. So.
Well, Mari, can I ask you how did you go from taking this class, which you took here in the U.S., right?
Yeah, in 1980. Mm-hmm.
So how did your path progress from that to actually all this work that you've done worldwide with Reiki?
Mm-hmm. Well, I started teaching Reiki. People started hearing about it, and like I was asked to go to Arkansas and teach, and I did. I taught my first class in Houston, and I thought that I'd do something wrong, and probably their feet would come on and not their hands. That was my biggest fear. It didn't happen. Although I have to tell you that people's feet can be the vehicle that Reiki goes through, because I did a class in California, and it was one of my students had been a thalidomide baby, so he didn't have any arms. So he gave Reiki with his feet.
Wow.
Yeah, and by the way, what we learn in Yikuden Reiki is Yushui treated with his feet and his eyes and his breath.
So how does that work? Can you explain that a little bit for us?
You can look with your eyes, and the energy goes through your eyes to the parts of the body you're looking at. You can blow very softly on a place, and that treats the place. In Yikuden Reiki, you learn those things.
I've had some experience of that, receiving that. It is very powerful, the blowing.
Yeah.
And some of it has come to me intuitively as I've just been working with somebody, and I can't explain that at all, how you just get this intuition that if you do this or that, it's going to help.
But you see, I used to think I was a Reiki heretic because I was doing that already. And then when I did Yikuden Reiki, I found out that was some things that Yushui did as part of the natural treatment. And then I went, oh, I always felt like I had this little, I don't know, I saw him with me for years and years and years. I thought there was this little Japanese guy with me. But I was so closely aligned with Takata, and that there was no, she'd said that he was born so long ago, and it was way back when, the history was it was askew. And then when we found out more about Yushui, then I went, oh, well, he's that little guy that's been with me all this time. So when you get to know the whole history of Reiki, it's amazing how you just come into the whole lineage is right there. It's very clear,
It's a very ancient practice, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So they use this medically in other parts of the world? You've been involved in that, right? Bringing this as a medicine?
I worked with doctors. I've worked with doctors all the time I've been doing Reiki. It's been fantastic. I treated people in the hospital in the Czech Republic. I taught. It's very funny. I came to Czech Republic after praying where to go, and I was told to go to Czech. And I didn't even know where it was, but I thought it was behind the Iron Curtain, and my whole idea about Iron Curtain were like iron curtains hanging from, like the curtains in your living room. And I learned so much about myself being in an Eastern European country. But so I was teaching English at a regional hospital in Liberec, and the head of that hospital became the health minister for the country, for Czech Republic. But in the meantime, what I did was I was teaching conversational English to all the department heads, all the what they call primage, or the heads of all the departments of medicine. And so they wanted to know when I was really not teaching English what I did, and I told them about Reiki. Well, they were so interested in it that they had me work in a ward of septicemia. So it was quite usual when they did surgery that people got septic because they operated with the windows open in the surgery room to keep it cooler. And they didn't have a real good sterile field. It was like working in a MASH unit. I used to say, if I ever had to have surgery, get me out of the country, because I just saw, because I was taken back there, I was shown all the back parts of the hospital.
That's wild.
And they asked me to come back and work with somebody in the septic ward. And I put a gown and mask and everything on and went back there and worked with this woman who was dying. She had they had cut the common bile duct when they took her gallbladder out, and they didn't expect her to live very long. And so I was working with that area where she was septic, and all the fluids looked really bad, and she had very high fevers. And so I worked with her, And I couldn't speak Czech at that time. And what she said to the translator was with me when she was covered up too. She was a retired doctor. That it felt like an angel was sitting with her. And I put my hands on her, and she just said, her hands are so warm, but she's an angel. I can see her. She's an angel that's sitting there with me. And I went back the next day, and she was up walking around, pushing her pole, and the fluids that were coming out of her were clear.
Wow.
The doctors were astounded that she had rallied so fast, And the next day I came back, and she was just throwing up all this emotion off of her.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing to just watch all this emotion. I could just feel the emotions coming off. Her name was Maria. And the translator was there, and she said, I've never seen anything like it. You could just see the emotion just wafting off of her. She said, that's all I can explain. It just feels like layers and layers of emotion coming off of her. She wasn't crying, but it was just like all this emotion was just flying away. And I put my hand on her, and I kissed her forehead, and did Reiki, but I kissed her forehead several times, and patted her, almost like a mother would do a child, when they're afraid. A lot of fear came away, and I rocked her like a baby. And then the next day I came back, she was gone. And I said, what happened to her? And they said, she passed away. And I was just totally crushed. And what I realized was I had gotten attached to the outcome of her, and that where we're always told us don't be attached to the outcome,
Yeah.
And I was just so saddened by that. And I asked them if I could call from their phone, because I had no money at all. Could I call from their phone, because they had a long-distance service in the main office of the hospital. Could I call my friend in the Netherlands, who's like my spiritual sister? And they said yes. So I called her, and I told her what happened. And she told me, you broke like a commandment. I said, what have I done? She said, you got too close emotionally to her. You must always work and not be tied to her, tied to the outcome of your client. You must let that all run off of you like the water off a duck's back. Treat her, and be compassionately detached. And you tell your students that when you teach, but you didn't pay attention to your own words. And I said, that's true. She said, this is a big lesson for you. Remember the lesson. That's what she told me. And then, of course, I had to hang up. So I asked if they were going to do an autopsy. Normally, they don't do autopsies on people. It's very rare. But because they were so interested in what the Reiki had done, because they didn't know how it would work, and they said they weren't worried that if I killed her or not, because she was going to die anyway. That was really crazy. So they decided they'd do an autopsy because they wanted to do like an investigation. They were so amazed when they did the autopsy, because where I had worked over her gallbladder, liver area, was healthy, totally healed, pink, healthy tissue. She had died of an upper respiratory infection.
Wow.
She had to die. It was her time to die.
Yes.
But what had happened when I was with her was she could let go of all that fear and angst and pain and die very gently.
Yes.
So the Reiki had helped her pass in a very beautiful way.
It gave her peace.
It gave her peace, yes. And I could witness that. But what I needed to remember was never get attached to the outcome. So I had a first-hand experience of that.
That's
really
a very powerful story. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, that's just a beautiful story, and you have a lot of those kind of stories from the work that you've done. How are we coming here in the United States with embracing Reiki as medicine?
It's interesting, because I just had 3 heart surgeries in April. I had a stent put in, and then it nicked my heart, and then they pinched a branch on that, so I changed doctors.
Yeah.
And I went to a cardiologist, and interestingly enough, he and one of the doctors that's in partnership with him, I haven't talked to the other one, but I think I will this next time I go. I was there this past Tuesday, and my doctor said, "This is our Reiki lady," and I gave him one of my books, Reiki for Common Ailments, because he's going to India, and he wanted to read one of my books. And the guy, his other partner, said, "Oh, I've had Reiki in India, and it was marvelous. It helped my back so much." And he asked me if he could hold my hand, and I said, "Sure." I gave him my hand. He said, "Oh, it's marvelous. Your hand has so much energy in it." And then my doctor said, "Let me hold your hand," and I gave it to him. I said, "Now, be careful, because I'm going to come to work here in this office." Mm-hmm. And he said, "That's an idea." So I planted a seed now.
Yes.
Because all the doctors only do surgery one day a week. They believe that they need to spend more time with their patients. They don't have a mill. They take time with their patients.
That's good.
And I said, this is a perfect complement to what you do. You refer people for massage and other things. This is just like that. So he's got my book, and it's got about it talks about allopathic medicine, how it's treated. There's pictures of everything. And then it has about Reiki and other complementary medicines that go with it. So I'm giving him something to plant a seed in his mind, because this is what I want to do. I'd love to work with him.
That'd be so wonderful. Well, let me ask you an obvious question that I think our listeners would ask if they could. Can you do Reiki on yourself to heal your heart? What are the boundaries, if any, of Reiki?
Oh, sure, absolutely. If I didn't have Reiki, I'd be dead now, because to have a nicked artery, I would have bled out. I know I would be dead.
So you've been doing Reiki on yourself?
Oh, I've been doing Reiki, and hundreds of people, thousands of people have been sending me energy. Good. Oh, sure.
I think sometimes when people look at the holistic path and they say, well, she swore by this, but here she is sick, they can get lost in the same thing you were talking about. They're missing that it's already helping you, because they're attached to what that should look like, just like you were talking about.
Well, here's first, I'm a woman, okay? I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. And Reiki, first of all, I don't like the term master anyway. What am I master of? Reiki's mastering me. Okay, I'm a teacher, but I teach. It's sort of like I help people get reconnected. It's our birthright, okay? All I'm doing is helping people tune the radio station back to Radio Reiki, okay?
Yeah.
I get to witness that reconnection, or it's like a chimney sweep that comes and cleans out the chimney so that the fire works better, okay? And so you have an introduction to something, and your practice, you're using Reiki is what teaches you, is what, when I rolled up my sleeves in Czech Republic, and I worked 17, 20 hours a day seeing people, that was my education. My education has been working with Reiki and working with people, because that energy flows through me. I get the energy. I don't pass my cooties on. They get a treatment. I get to witness their miracles, because they're using the energy. I'm not doing anything. I'm not controlling it. They're getting it. They're working on it. They're getting it on the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual levels. And I get to witness. I'm a witness to miracles. Wow, I'm a witness to my own miracles. I've seen so many miracles, And then, because I'm a human being, doesn't mean I'm not going to get a cold, or I'm not going to have something happen to me. I get out of balance. If I don't watch it, I get a big wake-up call, giant wake-up call. My heart, it's my giant wake-up call.
You've been a trailblazer as a woman doing this work all over the world. I know women that admire me for getting in my car and driving across Texas by myself. And you've literally gone around the world on this, literally following a call. And you told me a story about finding yourself in an airport and you'd lost all your identity, and you want to share that story with me again today, please?
Well, I was going to go to Colombia, and I had my purse, and here I am in the airport, and I went to buy Western things for Tadao Yamaguchi and for Arjava, and then the organizer in Colombia. So I bought him, you have to buy him Western things, right? So I bought him sheriff's badges and all this other stuff. And I didn't have room to put them anywhere else, so I took out my purse, and I put them in this bag with my passport in it. And I had my purse, and then I had this bag with all their stuff in it. And I left my purse behind when we got to board the plane. Well, fortunately, it was found and locked up in Houston. But it had my charge cards and my money in it. So I get off the plane in Colombia and realize I don't have my purse.
Wow.
I did have my ticket, my passport. So the first week it was no big deal because I'm a speaker. And I'm talking about these techniques that I've learned to use with Reiki, which is a muscle technique that I use, which is fantastic, which I just did in Toronto, and another one. And Tadao is just amazed by what happens when he sees the body change that I do. And Arjava was there, and so we had this wonderful week in Colombia. It was fantastic. The people there are great. And then they asked me to stay and take the Yigaden course, and I'd love to do it, but I don't have any money. And I've got a ticket that's can't be changed, and I work for this nonprofit, More to Life, and I'm the only one that works there, so I can't just call them up and say, hey, I've decided to stay an extra week in Colombia. So I have all these things that it's impossible. It's just totally impossible. You know how your mind does?
Yes.
Or my mind does?
Yes.
I'm Capricorn, so no, I can't do it. And they're all begging me to stay. All these wonderful Colombian people that are just so warm-blooded and Latin. So
yes.
So every time I'd say no, all of a sudden it would turn into a yes. I'm in a taxi with Tadao and Arjava. They're taking me to the airport, and the last thing that happens is that the ticket gets changed to a yes. And my bosses have said, of course you can stay.
Beautiful.
And Arjava funds me the money and tells me not to worry about paying me back until I can. So then I take the course. And I have all these people that are my students, and they're just saying, don't worry about it. And I go, oh my God, what do I do now? Because it's so pure. Yigaden is so pure. It's so simple. It's not mixed up with anything. It's just pure Reiki. It's from the source. It's from Yushui. And so we learned that maybe we could call misspelled words, You just tell your students that we learned with misspelled words. I said, I can't even get a hold of 55,000 people and tell them misspelled a word because they're all in a database in Czech Republic, and a lot of them were Czech, or Polish or Russian or whatever. And he said, don't worry about it, Mara. You just took the course. And oh, by the way, would you be my organizer in the United States? And I'm going, sure.
Wow.
So that's how it started.
I love that story because it's such a powerful reminder for all of us that when it's our time to do something, the universe makes a way. A way is made for us. And we worry so much about the how things are going to happen. And if we let go of the how and just stay present and own the possibilities, a way is made for us, isn't it? Absolutely.
It's just crazy. It's just like I worry about, I want to have a full-time practice now and full-time teaching and let go of my part-time job, and it's happening without me.
Isn't that amazing?
It's absolutely happening without me.
Tell me what that looks like.
Well, I thought, I have to work and I have to have enough money saved so I can pay my bills. And, you have this idea of what it looks like. It's got to be, I've got to have so much money in the bank, and I have to have so many clients, and I have to, it's all in your head. You have this whole idea, and you've got the checklist, how it's got to look, and I got to have my web pages ready. And it's all happening with all those things not in place. I think they're going to let me go. They came and had a talk with me and said, you're getting old and you haven't been able to handle things because you've been ill. Well, sure, I've been ill. I had 3 heart surgeries in 1 month.
Wow.
I just wrote him a note and said, I'm not quitting.
Really?
It's so funny. It's just so funny.
I feel your story so deeply. I think there are many of us, I've spoken with many just in the last few days, that are going through such deep transitions, and it's true. It feels like life is picking us up and sweeping us along, and we just don't have to worry about it. But our mind has a little bit of difficulty letting go of the way it thinks it needs to look, right?
Absolutely. And when one door closes, we're sitting in the hallway waiting for the other door to open. We're scared to death. What should we do in the hallway? Well, you know what I've decided to do? I'm going to dance. I'm just going to dance in the hallway. And I am going to laugh, because what else is there to do? Why are we going to worry in the hallway? Because Creator gave us a hallway. Why don't we just play in the hallway?
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Because if you worry and then you're filled with fear, what you get to create is more fear. Well, that's what you do. Your mind creates your reality.
Some of us have had a bit of a journey coming from a very fear-based childhood to dancing, and we're getting there. We're getting there.
Absolutely, but if you just remember how powerful your mind is, and I am talking to myself right now, okay? Mari, are you listening? Because I just went through this whole thing. I'm just going, well, I have this to do and I have that to do. I set up a fund to GoFundMe, asking people to help me create my dream, of helping people.
Oh, that's
to
beautiful.
Help them remember their divinity, And people have responded, but that whole Mortal Life community hasn't responded to me. It's like the very people that I've been serving all this time have not been tuned into me, Well, I should get that message pretty loud and clear.
Oh, wow. We all should.
Mari, Mari, just drop it and just dance in the hallway. The door will open.
Oh, it will, it will. Please tell us where we can look online to find out about your fund. It's
GoFundMe.com/MariHall.com.
Perfect. And that's MariHall. And your actual website is MariHall.com also, right?
Right. It's under construction.
Okay.
It's under construction.
So are we, right?
But because what's happened is I've done it again. I've given to everyone else and put me last in line. This is interesting how I keep telling people to put themselves first. Open their date timer and get a day in there for themselves to have a day of relaxation, rejuvenation, or go to the beach or get a girlfriend or a guy friend and go do something fun. And I'm the last one to do that for myself. So practice what I preach.
You are speaking to all of us.
It's not do as I say. It's do what I do,
Right.
And the other thing is, and I was talking about this in Toronto this weekend, is don't be a doobie. doobie. Don't just do. It's about being. Be quiet. Listen. Because in the listening is where you hear that soft, sweet voice of Creator talking to you. And I certainly have had that time recovering from these surgeries to listen. And what I hear is be still. And the other thing I hear is this: follow your passion. What is it you're passionate about? Because when you do what you're passionate about, the money will come. The money will come.
And that's another one of those we have to let go of what we think it's going to look like, right? Because the money doesn't come from where we think it's going to come from.
No, not at all. It doesn't come from where you think it's going to come from. It doesn't. Absolutely not. It just comes from the most unexpected places. It really does.
Yes, and learning how to receive that when it's not where we expected it to come from or the way we thought it would look. Learning how to receive has been a huge lesson for me.
Oh, absolutely.
And continues
Open that
to
hand
be.
and say thank you and be gracious about it.
Yes.
And know how to ask. Ask for help. Ask for help. People want to help you. They do.
Yes, they do.
And it doesn't have to look like it has to be a certain way. You know, I wrote in my GoFundMe letter I recently sent out to the students. I just need some help putting folders together. Come over and let's laugh together and put folders together.
Well, put me down for that because I want to come connect with you anyway, so I will help you put folders together while we connect. How's that?
I want you to come and sit in my garden. We'll just laugh and have fun. That's what I want you to do.
That sounds very magical.
And anybody else is close to Houston, come on and be in my garden with me.
That's a huge opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Come and be in my garden. I love that. I would love that.
You bring such a gift of laughter and joy, and that without the Reiki, just that beautiful heart of yours is so healing. And then the Reiki too, which is just more love.
Well, that's what I've learned when I've been recovering. That life is just too short not to laugh, and especially not to laugh at myself. Really, because come on, I've just taken myself too seriously.
Boy, isn't that the truth? We can all learn that one.
Absolutely. That's a good recipe for living. Have laughter and joy every day, and don't take yourself so seriously.
That's perfect advice.
Absolutely.
Well, Mari, I so appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Have you got anything coming up that you want to let people know about? I mean, we've sent them to your fund, absolutely. Anything else you want to share?
I've got a Shodan class, which is like Reiki 1, June 20th and 21st, and an Okaden class, which is level 2, July 11th and 12th, at my home.
Wonderful.
I like to teach at my house. You can call me on the phone at 832-282-4454 or write to me at Mari. It's Mari at marihall.com. And I can send you some more information. I'll be here in Connecticut until the 21st, but I'll be on email, so I can forward you something.
Well, thank you, especially traveling and being away like this, for taking the time to visit with us. You're a beautiful soul, and I can't wait to know you better myself.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm sending lots of hugs to you and to everybody. I love to hug.
Me too. We're going to have fun. Well, thank you so much, and bless you for the beautiful light that you're shining in the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I know that you're doing the same thing. So we're sisters under the skin.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Blessings to you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do you have a moving story about your own journey and natural healing path you'd like to share? Drop us a note. info@journeyofpossibilities.com. Until next time, this is Cheryl Sitz reminding you to use your passions and make a bigger difference. Let's co-create holistic sustainability for ourselves and for our planet. Namaste.